Something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Holy cow. I'm okay, Joseph. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Good to see you, sir.
I almost...
better than you.
I almost didn't make it, period. Not like didn't make it to the show. Not like we're going to be late, which we were. Not my fault, by the way. I almost was not on this earth this week. And there would have been a lot of people happy about that, I think.
Maybe a couple, but happy...
I got to tell you,
I wouldn't go that far.
There's a lot of bad motherfuckers out there that do not want to see me continue to do what we're doing.
Okay, I'll give you that. Some people would be happy. Some people, but a lot more people would be really upset. So just take that to your grave and enjoying that knowledge.
I don't give a shit.
Whatever that is.
I'd be dead. What do I care? It's like when people plan their fucking funerals. It's like I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, I understand it to take care of everything for your loved ones. Not that anyone's done that for me in my life. I've had to take care of everything. Everyone I buried on Spence, but, you know, whatever.
It is what it is.
Anyway, guys.
So what's new?
I don't know. Just getting over COVID-19. SARS-CoV-19.
I'm glad you're feeling better though. Like you're better than you were a couple days ago, and it's good. It's good to be back with you and with everyone watching.
Took off at least 7 pounds. I am lean and mean, but I will tell you though, they're not wrong about being older and getting this fucking disease. They're not wrong about that. It's the one thing they got right about this shit. Because I can tell you that as an adult, I have no memory of ever being this ill.
That's a big state. Well, okay. I don't know the extent of how sick you were, just based on what you're telling me and the way you sounded on the phone a couple times. But if you've not sounded sicker than that, then you've had a charmed life.
I've sounded sicker than that.
Yeah. But but you haven't felt worse.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some other issues that made me want to, like, not continue on with life. You know, that were difficult to deal with. But as far as, like, flu-like...
Hangovers don't count.
Yeah.
Hangovers don't count.
That's what I was going to say. Flu-like, like, possibly not being able to breathe and the panic of that. I was like,
yeah, it wasn't.
Maybe these motherfuckers
wasn't that bad for me.
Maybe these motherfuckers were right. Anyway, guys, but we're back.
Maybe they're onto something.
We're back. We'll see for how long. Phone number is 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show, and it is good to be back for our 30 viewers today. What the fuck, Joe?
What? It's 24 right now.
Oh,
not 30.
Good. That's good. We're fucking crushing it. It's good to be back, though. It really is. You know, for you guys who are like super fans of the live broadcast, I appreciate you. Trust me. Mm-hmm. And because you guys are sticking with us and giving us phone calls, that gives us content to get out there through all of our other resources. And that also includes mainstream medical resources that we've been getting the content out on that you guys aren't necessarily privy to. I mean, there's one that you guys are going to be able to be privy to, I guess, once it's indexed. But it really is for your stories, your information, your complaints and issues when you're dealing with fucked up hair transplant surgery. This is getting right into the hearts and to the minds of physicians in dermatology, facial plastic surgery, guys and women who are just getting into the field, people who had no idea that they were fucking people up. And that's really where the show has been focused over the last, however many years that I've come back online to do it with Joe. But we are moving towards trying to get it out there more to the mainstream and to get more consumers looking and listening to the broadcast. So here we are. Joe, wake up, man. I have COVID.
I'm listening. I'm awake. Look,
I'm sick.
Is that going to be your excuse for everything for the next 5 years now?
I got some other excuses that you know about that could come up at any moment.
Aces is up your sleeve.
Yeah, guys, the phone number.
Talking about the no. My turn now.
You go.
You had your ramble. No, but talking about the exposure. I think it's important to note that others are getting exposure through us, such as this fantastic workshop, medical workshop, surgical workshop, FUE Europe. They're putting on their shindig next month in It's in Greece, and
Athens, my man.
It's nice Athens, my man, and they've gained American Hair Loss Association endorsement as a go-to event, and that's pretty significant because it speaks to the quality of the presentations. It speaks to the quality of the education that doctors that may have experience, new doctors that have zero experience that want to get into the field. This is one of the great workshops, one of the great events for doctors in the field to attend, and it's gotten recognition. Carry that on. It was mentioned also in.
What do you want me to do? You want me to take this over for you, man, so that you don't fucking ramble?
Yes.
All right. So we are now working with Dermatology Time. So what a lot of guys who aren't obviously in the field, in the industry, they may not know that Dermatology Times is really the most read, subscribed to, and now it's the biggest online platform for dermatologists all over the world. So
Worldwide.
We have partnered with them, the American Hair Loss Association, and to provide content to mainstream dermatology, cosmetic surgery, and any other disciplines who are interested in getting into surgical hair restoration. There was a tremendous need for hair loss and hair transplant information. And they also want us to kind of provide information on any conferences, any congresses, whether it's live or online, so that their readership and that their viewership now online could attend. And we sat down and we decided really who was the most relevant and most valuable resources out there for physicians to have a fighting chance to actually come back to their offices and help patients. Mm-hmm. And FUE Europe is one of two brick and mortar conferences that we feel comfortable enough to endorse. These are not fucking trade shows. It's not, you're not going into a conference where there's guys on stilts juggling, trying to get your fucking attention to buy their shit, which is really the norm for this industry. And a lot of what's happening in aesthetics, that's kind of really how things have evolved. But these are conferences and workshops where people actually have the opportunity, physicians, to learn. And that was really the main criteria. And so,
yeah,
that's what you're trying to say, Joe.
That's what I was trying to say.
But in the end,
didn't want to know how much to say, but yeah, that you covered it.
I also want to make it clear that there is no conflict of interest in the American Hair Loss Association and FUE Europe. There's no, money's being exchanged to our staff, family members, anyone involved with the organization, period. We do not accept it. It's not a sponsorship type of a situation whatsoever. So it really is, whoever the best man for the job is, so to speak, is going to be involved with what we're doing and with Derm Times. If you guys give a shit about that. But it's important.
Well said.
It's
a big deal.
Well,
it's a very big deal.
What's big about it is that mainstream medicine is now taking a serious look at all the bullshit that's being put out there, online and elsewhere and within the industry. And they're willing to, put it out there on their platforms, not just through, WebMD's been doing it for a long time, but not just through our platforms, which conferences, which content, which information is really going to be the most beneficial for physicians and for the patients they serve. And that's just never been done before.
Yep.
So I think that's where the real kind of, we're evolving. Now, I'm already sensing through a couple of emails that I've received that, there's more concern, there's concern over this. Who the fuck would be concerned over this when this is information that's being given to new doctors especially so that they can make the right decisions and good choices for their fucking patients? You know who would be concerned about this? People who believe they're losing the fucking market share somehow. And the only reason they're losing the market share is because they're doing shitty work. Because if they weren't, if they were treating patients well, they could have a big piece of the market share. But they can no longer pretend.
They'd be just fine.
They can no longer pretend to be the authorities in this space any longer.
And someone in the chat room asked if we're still with Maxim. We are. A lot of things are going on right now, and we're actually working on content at the moment that will be published in the online and print resources for Maxim magazine, where they will be, and then that's when their promotion of what we do, where it's kind of a back and forth thing between us, it will be starting soon. It's just it hasn't begun at the moment, but it is still on. That's why the logo is still on our thumbnail.
Well,
that's moving
it hasn't
forward.
happened because
it just takes time.
Kobren's got to do everything.
Kobren doesn't have to do everything.
That's true. I do have help. I definitely have help. And first of all, that was unfair, Joe. I'm going to take that back. That was unfair to Joseph Tillman. Joe, who does not work for the American Hair Loss Association or the Bald Truth, he has volunteered his time to do a lot of shit over the years, and for Global Hair Loss Summit, by the way. So it's very much appreciated, Joe. So let me apologize.
It was heartfelt, my friend. Thank you. I will take that.
But the point is, I still got to do everything. I'm just kidding. I still have to have my hands in everything, and I still have to actually end up crafting the helping to craft the content in order to get the right message out there through Maxim. Yeah. And I've been sick.
More sick than usual.
I've been mentally ill for most of my life, and I openly admit that. I'm not well, people. The phone number is 888-659-3727. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, one final announcement. Speaking of the American Hair Loss Association, they have begun a program that's meant to address the issue of online content, and specifically the YouTube space, where you, the consumer, you, the YouTube viewer, when you're online doing your research and you're seeing all these different players that are putting out, and I say playa, hey playa, putting out their information about the hair restoration and hair loss world, you don't know who is legit, really, like seriously legit, just trying to get out clean, honest information versus those that have some sort of agenda that's not being disclosed, or a lack of clarity on associations and affiliations, things like that. And I'm happy to say that I'm the first American Hair Loss Association trusted content creator, meaning that my information is transparent, that I don't really try to muddle the issues with any sort of personal gain in mind. My goal is to get information to you based on my experience with 20 years in the industry. And I'm not going to be the only trusted content creator that's recognized by the American Hair Loss Association. There are others that are being considered. Yeah, God forbid. And I'm personally excited about it because I know what's coming down the pike as far as who's being considered for this. And I think it's a great service for you guys that are watching this and that are doing your research using YouTube, because when you see this trusted content creator seal, American Hair Loss Association, you can rest easy knowing that there's a little bit more of a legitimate angle to what's being presented to you. There's not so much of a sales thing going on. No one's trying to sell you anything. If they are trying to sell you anything, they're very clear about their disclosures. They're telling you that they are getting compensated. They are telling you that there is some sort of financial gain or some sort of gifting gain in exchange for any sort of presentation of products or services or things like that.
And
so
I just want to interrupt
I think
you
that's important to know.
Briefly, while you are basically in the group of the first, we can't forget about Women's Hair Loss Project, who is also been provided with trusted content creator status this week. This is not just waving a fucking magic wand and saying, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. It's not the way that this situation works. We're working with a pretty trusted group of people. We're also working with the mainstream media, and we're also working within the digital space to ensure that at the very least, you guys have a fucking fighting chance to get the information you need to make truly informed decisions, that you're not going to be ripped off, that you're not going to be misled, that you're going to get all the information you need, even if some of the information is stuff that we don't necessarily agree on, as far as what your first move should be, or whether or not you should there are people out there they're not fans of finasteride, for instance, who still are offering really great information if you want to, go another route to deal with your hair loss, or just want to, move on with your life. So,
well said.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, Joe is saying is, this is another exciting move, I think, that's happening this year. We were actually asked to do something like this a while ago. I was interviewed by mainstream publication talking about this very thing, and it actually did spur the initial idea. And we're going to be talking a lot about it in a new piece that's coming out in a really big mainstream resource as well. So look out for that. And congratulations, Joe. Look, you can still fuck up. You can still lose that status. If you go rogue all of a sudden, you start selling, if I see you bouncing around with laser cap, I mean, come on.
Hold on. Cancel.
Hi, guys. The phone number is 888-659-3727. We are live. First show back since being diagnosed with
guys are saying the phones are not working.
They're working.
Says the number I've tried to reach is temporarily unavailable.
I don't know what number they're trying to reach, but keep calling because all lines are lit.
I imagine it's the one that's on the screen. JMN 123, are you calling the number on the screen?
I'm just going to go to the phones and he'll eventually figure it out. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Apparently they're working.
Hey.
Hello? Yes, hey.
Hello.
Hey, this is Adam. Adam from Wisconsin.
Hello, Adam.
Adam from Wisconsin. How are you, man?
Good. Glad you're doing better, Spencer. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, thank you, man. I am doing better, but I can't even believe this shit.
Yeah, it hit me. I got the COVID last month, and I'm vaccinated. I've gotten both my shots, and it was still I was not bedridden, but I definitely wasn't feeling good.
How old are
It
you?
was definitely not as bad as pneumonia. 24.
Okay, well, you're a fucking kid. I'm at the 55 to death stage. That's my demographic. Like, I'm not even listed when people are looking to advertise. I'm not even in that block anymore. It's 34 to 55, I think, is when it ends, or 54, or something like that. But anyway, I'm glad. I'm glad you're well too.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if it was rough for me, I could only imagine what somebody, of your age would feel.
How dare you?
Yeah.
That was for me to say.
Well, you let me off. Sorry.
So what's up, man?
So I had a few questions actually. So I got an upcoming appointment with. I'm not getting a transplant, but I have an appointment with a transplant specialist coming up soon. And basically, we kind of discussed this during the last visit. We were going to see how topical minoxidil would work on me, and it's been a year and a half now. And I didn't mention to him that I was also going to use tretinoin, just because, like most, hair loss sufferers, they read up online and they find new things like derma rolling and tretinoin and how that helps absorb the minoxidil if you're a non-responder.
Mm-hmm. Well, just so you know, tretinoin's been used for well over 20 some odd years, and even before minoxidil was approved as Rogaine for hair loss, the doctor that I was going to was mixing Lontin tablets with tretinoin and alcohol, and so it's nothing, that's groundbreaking. So people have been having success with it for a long time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know how it's been with me. I definitely have not gotten any regrowth. I should mention, I'm on Avodart. And that I made the jump like 2 years ago. I take pictures pretty often, but I am like a more like diffuse thinner, and I have very coarse hair strands. But I guess the reason why I don't know if I've stabilized or if I've slowed down is just because I guess I don't really know the reason. I just can't really tell. I think I may have slowed down, but, knock on wood, I don't know for sure. But I guess my first question is, we are going to be discussing about trying out oral minoxidil. I was thinking just like the basic, like 2.5 milligrams a day, so I would split it up into halves, and then I take one in the morning, one at night. But I guess I just wanted to get your guys' info, like fill me up on anything. What have you guys seen with oral minoxidil, like its safety, it's the right kind of dosage, what should I be looking out for? Just anything.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I still see, even though doctors are prescribing it almost like candy now, I still see it as not a last resort, but almost like a second resort. But you're already on dutasteride. Now, again, I'm not a physician, and I'm just speaking from experience for doing this for a long time. The use of oral minoxidil is nothing new. It's come back into vogue in the last 2.5 years since the inaugural Global Hair Loss Summit, when there was a very well-received talk given by a physician in Spain about his experience and his practical experience in clinic prescribing oral minoxidil low dosage to his patients. So everyone kind of jumped on board. A lot of people now are prescribing it to women kind of just off the cuff as well, which I know that it can benefit women as well. But there's still, even at a low dose, like with any medication, chance of adverse side effects. Some of the adverse side effects could be heart related. Some of the adverse side effects can be related to your blood pressure. Obviously, it's a blood pressure medication, and What's the other stuff, Joe? Help me out here. I have COVID.
What did you say? You said blood pressure. Did you mention heart palpitations?
Heart palpitations, but also stronger heart-related possible adverse side effects. Dizziness. Also, a lot of people do complain of water retention, facial bloating, shit like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that could be mitigated with some dietary intervention. So you'd really have to kind of work on that if you do deal with those adverse side effects. But those are all possibilities. Now, those aren't the worst side effects in the world. And they are relatively rare, but they can occur.
Okay, so
on the flip side, I've seen this stuff work.
Better than topical?
I would say yes, for sure, 100%, and I think that most physicians would agree. Absolutely, I think topical has really has had its limitations since it was approved for the use of hair loss. 30 years ago. It really was the use of oral minoxidil that spawned the concept of trying to do something topically for hair loss.
My opinion on topical versus oral minoxidil is I have never considered minoxidil to be really a serious hair loss prevention medication. I've never been a fan of it. And
Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid that just doesn't work very well for a lot of guys, in my opinion. Like I know there's some guys out there that swear by it, but I think they're really few and far in between. But when it comes to oral minoxidil, I first started paying attention to that when Dr. Jerry Cooley first started talking to me about it probably 8 years ago. And he started doing some low-dose prescriptions for his patients, male and female. And then a few years later, there's a Spanish researcher, Dr. Sergio, what's his last name?
I have COVID.
Canvale, I can't remember his last name. And then more doctors, researchers, and hair restoration specialists have been getting on the bandwagon. And I've been seeing a lot more patients that have a visible improvement with oral minoxidil than I ever have with topical minoxidil. And my opinion today in 2022 is that if you're going to take minoxidil, unless there's some sort of counterindication that your doctor is warning you about that may be above and beyond the average side effect, then I would consider, like if I was just to consider minoxidil for myself, I would only consider oral minoxidil. And I have considered it. I just haven't taken that step yet.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I've heard of the side effects and stuff, and I just was a little bit worried. I was never worried about like finasteride or dutasteride side effects, just because I know the chances are so low. Like I didn't let that bother me one bit.
Well, that's actually, I mean, that's an interesting mindset to have, and I think it's actually a good mindset. I mean, the fact that you're able to go into using a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor and even a dual 5-alpha reductase inhibitor with no concerns, probably, for most people, they would have less pause with using oral minoxidil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I just know, like, you guys 100. You guys have told me, like, if I am gonna ever get a transplant, like, not to do it around my early 20s, like right now, like just hold off as long as I could. And I hear you guys say it's a last resort, so I really want to make sure I try everything before I get to that point.
Dude.
And I also just want to make sure that I stabilize.
100. I'm so glad that you've taken heed of that, because that's just the reality. You're 24 years old. If you're able to maintain your hair or keep it to a point where you're slowing it to a crawl, slowing the progression to a crawl until you're 30, it's another 6 years without having to have surgery. Now, we don't know what surgery is going to be like in 6 years. I have a feeling it's not going to be that much different. I mean, it's possible we may have the ability to create maybe or possibly double your donor area or create more hair follicles that could be moved, which would be great. But 6 years is a long time in your hair loss journey and your hair loss life. If you can maintain what you have for the most part until you're 30 before getting cut, that's huge. So that's a really good thought process, and I'm glad that you're moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, like I'm going to be honest, I have days where I'm just like, man, I should get this transplant, just hope for the best, but
But you know what? It's going to be more difficult for you. Yeah, that's hard. What's going to be more difficult is when you're fucked up, or if you go through, or if you go through a severe telogen effluvium that never fully recovers, and you're just stuck with transplanted hair. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Make you laugh, Joe. And like, you know what?
Yeah, you'll have a really hard time when you're fucked up. It's just so absolute. It's like, God. Oh, man. Spencer not pulling any punches today.
But that's the reality. Listen, I just did an interview for this magazine, and when I expressed that in today's market, they got the quote all wrong, by the way. It's fucked up. But in today's market, like at least a third of people, well, actually more, it's 7 out of 10 people who are having a hair transplant in today's market range from dissatisfied, meaning that, yeah, maybe I get another one, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, to being completely disfigured. So you have about a third of the people who have transplants today that are thrilled.
Wow.
That's pretty low. Now, and they're going to the best doctors and clinics in the world. Now, there are guys who luck out and they'll go to Istanbul or wherever, and they'll be thrilled for like a year, maybe 2. And then the shit's really going to hit the fan. They have no idea what's about to hit them. Right now, they're walking around taking selfies, thumbs up. They're all fucking happy. They're 24 years old. They got this great hairline. Somehow, somebody placed the grafts in the proper direction. Somehow, most of the grafts grew. You give them 2 years, as those grafts that were moved that were not in a even relative safe zone, that are not responding well to medication. Some of these guys aren't even taking medication. Once they start miniaturizing and they see, wait a second, I don't have any more grafts that could be moved, and my entire head looks like I was shot with a fucking shotgun or the back of my head. Anyway,
yeah,
there's a lot of guys out there, and I look at it myself sometimes, and I'm looking at some of these really great Instagram before and afters and these really great testimonials. It's compelling shit, man, for a young guy. Compelling.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
If
I was 24 years old to the
uneducated, it looks like it's a no-brainer.
Even to the quasi-educated, even to those who have taken the time to do their education, but they want to believe against all odds that, well, you know what, maybe I could shave it or do SMP if it doesn't work out. That's not going to happen. If you have 5,000 grafts moved in one sitting via FUE, if something goes wrong, you're fucked. Come 5 years, you're probably fucked. So to get back to you, man, you're 24, you're doing all the right things. You seem to have a really good head on your shoulders. And if you can wait till you're 30 before you have something done, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for. I really, I don't think I'm throwing the kitchen sink, but I'm kind of going for the best of what's out there right now. It's from what I've seen. I don't think like low level laser or PRP really. It doesn't really excite me to try those. I don't see them.
You have to go with your gut, man. You have to go with your gut. I'm checking my oxygen levels as I speak to you guys, by the way. I'm supposed to do that every hour. 95, that's pretty good. My heart rate's a little high, though. I think because I'm excited.
Maybe I should buy one of those if I'm going on the oral. Don't you think?
I actually think it's a good investment. Get one at CVS.
There you go.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I'll try it out.
Spencer, please disclose your affiliation with CVS, please.
At this point, I have none. But if they ever want to sponsor us, I'm all in,
There you go. Right on.
Actually, what you would probably need to get yourself, if you wanted to, is to get yourself a home blood pressure monitor. If you're going to go on minoxidil, just to
if I notice anything odd with my heart rate or anything, heart palpitations, if I notice anything, I was thinking, like I said, 1.25 in the morning and then again at night. And just seeing how that works. Maybe even just one dose, 1.25 in the morning, and then hopefully maybe that'll be fine. I don't know. I don't know much about this, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Keep us updated. Talk to your doctor. You're going to be seeing a physician, right? You're about to have a consultation with a hair transplant surgeon who's a hair loss specialist. So you can talk to them about your plan and ask them, obviously, what their position is. Sometimes when you come in with the level of education that you have, where it's not like you're a know-it-all and that you're talking about you're too involved with the minutia, but you're really just okay. I'm already taking this medication. This is what I've read. This is what I'm considering. They'll sit down with you and take their time and really give you their real opinion. So I'm sure if you're going to a legit guy, you want to say who you're going to? You don't have to.
Oh shoot, I forgot his name. I could tell you. He's a guy in Milwaukee. He's really cool. I remember.
Bushwhack.
In our. What was it?
Is it Bushwhack? I know it's a fucked up name.
I don't think that's his name.
He may be retired.
He's in Milwaukee. He's from Illume Cosmetic.
Who?
Illume Cosmetic Surgery.
Look that up.
In Milwaukee.
Illume.
That already sounds a little bit off the beaten path, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I remember my first consult. Yeah, my first consultation with him. He seemed very educated, and he even told me, like, dude, I can't do a transplant on you until you're in your 30s. Like, he told me that.
That's great. That's
and
important.
I know you guys love that stuff.
100%. Well, I mean, at least you're
it's
dealing with
either
guys ethical.
Dr. Mark Blake, Dr. Thomas Korkos, or Dr. Christopher Husushin, Timothy Bruce, Jessica Kuzik, or Kenneth Denby.
I believe it was Blake.
Blake.
I believe.
Okay. Younger guy, brown hair, Caucasian.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
Yeah, he seems pretty cool. So, like I said, just him telling me, like, dude, I can't do a transplant on you. I do have coverage, I'm lacking the full density, which is what I really want to go for. So there's that.
Well, listen, man. I think you found somebody that's at least being honest with you, and that's vitally important. Talk to him about your next steps. I'm glad this guy is unwilling to touch you before you're in your 30s. You're going to find plenty of doctors, if you search for them, who will have no problem giving you a hair transplant. I mean, I don't know what your hair looks like, but I'm sure there are guys out there that would say, "Hey, try a few." That happened to me. I was able to step back. So yeah, we're here for you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I also want to mention, I one of your guys. He's in Chicago. He's got like a Russian last name.
Panin.
Forgot.
Panin.
Yeah, Panin. Yeah, I went to him actually before too, and he told me the same thing. I was like, oh wow, okay. Nobody wants to touch me.
Yeah. So that means you're in a good position. But I also know what it's like to be 24 years old and everyone's telling you how much hair you have. And you know that your fucking looks are changing and that your hairline's eroding and that you're feeling uncomfortable in your own skin. You're seeing hair, in your comb and in the shower. And, the emotional toll of that is very difficult. And then when people are telling you, you're fine. You start to... you just want to find someone who's willing to help you. And it's that desperation, especially in my time, that fucked so many people up. So you're lucky that I'm glad you found the show, first of all, but you're lucky that you went to 2 physicians who told you the truth. So keep us posted, man, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for this program, and thank you for Joe, especially you two. Your channel is awesome. It helps a lot.
Thank you.
You got it, man.
Yeah.
Take care.
Very cool. Thanks for calling in. See ya.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah, and if you guys want more, like a list of side effects, I see somebody talking about Kevin Mann listing all the side effects for minoxidil. I mean, there's a lot of them, obviously. Insomnia is a big one that no one talks about. Night sweats, another one no one talks about, but it really depends on the dosage.
So what do you do?
I don't know. Oh. When dealing with blood pressure issues, you're dealing with headaches too. I've known guys who've taken oral minoxidil and they have they have cluster headaches. Does it happen often? No, not really. At least not from the hair loss community. But it may happen if you're on a higher dosage. I don't know. Go ahead, Joe.
JMN 123. Can anyone else call in? You can. Do we have anyone on hold right now, Spencer?
Yes, we do. We have a full line, full board, but try to call in now. Actually, someone just dropped, so there is a line open. Hey, you're on the air.
JMN 123, give us a call.
Where are you calling from?
Holy cow, it's me. What's up, guys? It's Rolandus.
Alanis.
Hey,
me.
Rolandus.
How are you? Oh, Rolandus. I thought you said Alanis. Like Alanis
Morissette. Kind of work as well.
Fucking Alanis Morissette.
How you doing, man?
Holy shit, your voice has changed.
Oh, it's just a different microphone.
What's going on, my man?
Actually, I'm calling for Skype, so it's such a nightmare to figure this out. It's just, I hate it. Sometimes I hate technology, although I'm kind of tech savvy, or I would like to believe I am.
Oh, you seem like you're like fucking on the ball with tech, man. You even have you have a gamer's chair.
So what? It's actually a bad chair, to be honest.
So what's up, man?
Not much. Enjoying the show as always. Thank you guys for tuning in. Finally, after 2 weeks, I missed the show.
Well, I'm glad that you're tuning in, man, and I'm glad that I'm alive, honestly, to do the show.
Oh yeah, great to have you alive. Actually, yeah. Don't die just yet. We still need you.
I'll do my best. But you know what? I decided during this period, I'm not even going to worry about it anymore. Whatever happens, happens. I'll do the best that I can.
That's good. Listen, I wanted to share actually one of my stories in terms of finasteride usage. So, the last caller was talking about oral minoxidil, which is great. Everyone's talking about oral minoxidil right now. Seems like people keep forgetting about finasteride, and then the new people that come in, start using it for a few months, for a year, whatever, and they start freaking out because they start shedding while on finasteride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, my story. I started finasteride right now more than 3 years already, but so finasteride kind of slowed down shedding drastically in the first maybe 10 to 12 months, but I was still shedding.
Can you? I'm going to interrupt you. Can you imagine if you started finasteride? If you didn't read all that shit on the internet, and if you started early on to intervene with your hair loss, where you be right now?
Oh, this is the biggest regret so far, that I was fucking stupid and listening to this, online people talking nonsense, and actively avoiding finasteride actually. So not great. Went from Norwood almost 3, I would say 2.5, 3 when I knew about finasteride, went to Norwood 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't repeat my mistake, guys.
But I think that's a cautionary tale. I think I've heard you speak about that before. That it really took you a significant amount of time to come up with the courage to just say, "Fuck it, I want to do something here."
Oh, actually, the story is actually funny. It's not like I decided, "Fuck it, and I'll do it." Actually, it's because of you, Spencer. Because I was listening to the show, and like at some point, one moment, you just said a phrase that stuck in my brain. You said that majority of the guys, they're not giving themselves a fighting chance with hair loss. And something clicked in my brain. And that was the moment when I realized, like, he's right, I'm not giving myself a fighting chance. Just because I'm avoiding finasteride. I tried minoxidil, tried microneedling. And that's why I realized, fuck it, I'll just try it. I'll try microdose, 0.25 milligram, like 2 times a week.
Yeah.
But, I'll just do something. And slowly, I took a pill. It's fine.
I'm really glad. Listen, I'm glad you just happened to tune into that particular show, and that one line made you think about it. So I'm glad for that.
Well, I was listening to many shows, but it's just, I don't know what, it's just something clicked in my brain. So, thank you for that.
You're welcome, my man.
Yeah. Going back to my story. So, the first year, I didn't finasteride didn't completely stop my hair loss. I was still shedding, but small amount, only because I was not with 5, so I didn't have much hair to begin with to shed. But during the second year, I noticed, specifically between month 14 and 15, I noticed that my hair loss pretty much completely stopped. I didn't have any shedding at all, and that was such a relief. And then since then, I didn't have any shedding until a couple of months back. Actually, this year, what was it, April? I think April. I was over 2 years on finasteride. I was already after 2 transplants, and I started shedding like crazy out of nowhere.
Did you happen to have? Okay. Were you vaccinated a few months before?
No.
Okay.
Nothing changed. Everything, as always, basically.
Okay.
Because I'm always preaching to everyone. I'm telling to people on a daily basis, listen, don't change anything in your routine. As soon as you change anything, add anything, you might do still fluvium. So it's not great. Just stick to the same routine at least for a year, and then see how it goes. So and April I started shedding like crazy, lots of hair, 50 hairs, 100 hairs, and let's remember that I'm not with 5. So I didn't have much hair to begin with. And amongst some of these hairs were transplanted. So, of course, these transplanted hairs, it was either the first transplant or the second transplant, hair cycles. It's actually just did a video on this topic, and I spoke with Joe about it. As well, he was kind enough to give me some of his opinion. But the shedding stopped eventually. So I was shedding for maybe 3 months, and even I was freaking out. Of all people, I knew exactly what's going on, but I was still freaking out. But after 3 months, it stopped. And now, absolutely zero shedding again. Which means my hair just went through the hair growth cycle.
But that's, you said something interesting that I think is important for listeners. I've been through that, obviously, myself. And I went through it initially when I got on ProScar without anyone knowing about it, talking about it. There was no talk about dread sheds or telogen effluviums. I was essentially taking the drug before chat rooms were talking about, like alt-odd bald spot. So I panicked. I upped my dosage from 5 milligrams to 7.5 milligrams a day. Told my doctor, he's like, yeah, give it a shot. Maybe it stopped working for you. No one knew what the fuck was going on. That was my first shot.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot, whatever.
Give it a shot.
Man boobs, fuck it. What do I care? But I was young, so I gave it a shot, and I was desperate. So things resolved itself. I obviously got down to a much lower dosage. But as years progressed, I went through a couple of different telogen effluviums. I went through one not too long ago, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and I then changed my intermittent dosing to having, taking the dosages closer together. But the point that you brought up was, even though I knew that this could happen, even though I knew about it, like it wasn't a surprise, you still freak the fuck out. Because even though you know, you still don't know how far it's going to go. And you're
Exactly.
still emotionally like, okay, I know it's supposed to stop. When is it going to stop?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
it's very difficult to deal with emotionally. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been going through this, and how much you know. Yeah, it's better to know that it's probably going to end. But it still is as emotionally straining when we go through this. At least it was for me, Mr. Rolandes.
Oh yeah, it was for me like I couldn't believe myself that I'm freaking out. I'm like looking in the mirror, looking at the hair in my hands. I was like, okay, this is normal. It's supposed to happen eventually. Why am I freaking out?
Yeah.
So you know, it gets to all of us, and I cannot imagine how some people that have not like don't have any knowledge how much they can freak out. So you know.
Well, listen, I think you have a lot of great stories to tell, and what you're doing with your channel is awesome, and just your reality and your just the way that you eventually made the right choices. It took time. You had to really educate yourself, and most of the guys your age, I'm sorry, man, no matter how much work you're doing, no matter how much work we've been doing over the years, they're going to be fucked. They're not
100%.
They're not doing their due diligence, or if they think they are, they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm part of this community. It's really cool. And I'm gonna learn and this and that. And they still, walk that plank and take that chance.
Man, this is crazy. Like I feel so bad for so many people. Like they think they've done the research and then start asking basic questions. So are they using microscopes?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
how many grafts per
who's
square
doing the
centimeter are they placing? All that shit.
Let's not go into too deep, but like who is doing the surgery?
Right.
Like how consistent would you say their results are? People like looking at me, what do you mean how consistent? Like you got 20 teams working. What are the chances you're going to get any of the results you see online?
Well, here's the thing about what you said about the microscopes. I've noticed, I've noticed since I did my video about 4 years ago where I'm talking about the celebrity hairline disaster, the Kyle Christie effect, where I kind of reintroduced the concept of microscopes into the hairosphere, as I call it, because a lot of not just a lot of patients, but a lot of clinics didn't even know about the value of microscopes because so many of the new clinics over the past 10 years have never performed strip. They're only FUE. And I've been noticing that question being asked more and more or discussed by people online, but I'm starting to notice clinics are starting to utilize this as part of their clinical marketing. And I noticed it. I noticed the most blatant violation of the truth when it comes to proclaiming their use of microscopes about 3 months ago, not long before I went to Istanbul in June, where one of the most notorious mill clinics, where I've had doctors in Turkey tell me behind the scenes that they do anywhere between 50 and 100 patients a day. Think about that. 50 to 100 patients a day.
100? I've never heard any clinic doing so much.
and the doctor who's the face of this company, because he's obviously not doing every surgery, if any, he's talking about the facilities, and he's got a microscope, and it doesn't even look like it's in one of the ORs. It looks like it's in the lobby where it was brought out for the video. I don't remember specifically where it was, but it was somewhere in the clinic that did not look like it was an OR, and he mentions how they're using microscopes. And I thought to myself, okay, this is great, and it's horrible information to be out in the area of research, because less scrupulous clinics will take this and claim it as their own and saying, yeah, we use microscopes, and they have no idea how to use them. Even if they are using them, they don't know how to use them. But in the case of this particular clinic, I guarantee you they don't know how to use them. And they're not even using them. They just have it, as a showpiece as part of their marketing efforts. So to ask if they're using microscopes, that doesn't even mean anything anymore, or it's becoming less and less meaningful, because they have to actually demonstrate single hairs that are. I heard someone say online, the first row of grafts need to be singles. No, that's not true. But regardless, they need to demonstrate that proper singles are being used appropriately for each patient, because it does change for each patient, and only this can demonstrate the use of actual microscopes.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. This is going to sound contradictory, but it's not. I'm not an asshole saying this, but it's not that they don't know how to use microscopes. The people that are using the microscopes, if they do exist in the clinic, they don't know how to cut grafts to size. They were never trained on how to fucking cut grafts to size.
That's
if you have technicians that can't cut grafts to size, again, people, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If they can't trim excessive, trim grafts, refine grafts, or cut grafts to size, if there's that could take, honestly, to do well, it could take somebody a month to learn how to do that consistently well.
I'll be worried that they're gonna cut through the, through the graft and just damage it.
Well, that's the whole point. These people, once you start to cut, if you don't have the eye-hand coordination and really have the practice, you're transecting grafts, even under 3D magnification. There's there's if you've ever, well, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Mr. Alanis, but Joe has. But if you're ever actually doing it, and you're trying to move your hands and work with the graft under the microscope, there's it's almost like the opposite. It feels like initially you have to kind of get used to it, and how it moves. It's like your brain is separated from your hands just for a second until you get used to it.
I was trying myself when I was having my second surgery with Dr. Ferreira.
Yeah,
I was looking at under the microscope on my own 7 hair grafts. Yeah. Can you believe?
That was the first thing that I was able to, that I actually did many years ago when no one was using microscopes. And it was Bob Bernstein. He said, why don't you, take a look and, see how difficult this is. And I had a blade in my hand and I took a look and I'm like, I'm not going to cut this shit, but just trying to angle it and trying to move it. I was like, okay, I could see. These people really have to be well trained.
But the difference is not using a pocket knife. You should have used a scalpel.
No, I used my my Smith & Wesson tactical knife.
Your buck knife. But it just kind of struck me when you said that, like the question of microscopes. It goes so much deeper than that now. So when you're asking patients this, Mr. Rolandis, when you're dealing with people, ask them, how do you know they're using microscopes properly? And it's a difficult question to answer if you haven't done a lot of research. And so I wouldn't expect a lot of the answers to be well informed, but it at least, if they're asking clinics themselves when they go and have their consultations, can you demonstrate, or can you show me that you're proficient with the use of microscopes? Then I think that puts a lot of clinics on notice. Shit, we need to be straight up with this guy, or avoid doing surgery on him because he's very well educated. A lot of clinics do this. If patients show up and they're asking questions that really indicate that they've been digging deep into research and they've learned the terminology and they actually understand some of the concepts, I know clinics that will turn them away because they don't want to deal with patients that are too educated. If you can believe that.
I have a question.
It's crazy.
It's not to change the subject. That's a good point, Joe. But Mr. Rolandis, you're a young guy. You're very engaged online. You're in communications with a lot of people in these communities. And from your perspective, I know you already stated that these guys, or you agree these guys aren't really doing their homework. But even if they seem to be doing their homework and they're engaging with you, do you find it difficult to, I guess, dissuade them from having surgery, or provide them with encouragement to wait, take medication, and see what happens?
It depends on personality, really. It's like, there are a variety of people. Some people, they just been sold on the surgery by someone, by some marketing. So they are ready to put the deposit, go tomorrow. But some people, they're open-minded. You're going to tell them, listen, maybe it's not a great idea. Maybe you should explore, medication first if you haven't done it. And they say, oh, interesting, I haven't thought about it. So it really depends, from person to person. But I've noticed majority of people, they've just been sold. And sometimes if I start saying what they don't want to hear, they just like, who are you? Why you even like?
Yeah, but that's,
like things like that.
And I understand that position. I've been in that position for 25 years, and it's not an easy position to be in. And the thing is, when you're in that position, if you pander to these kids because you don't want to deal with the bullshit, I mean, you can't win. That's the problem. It's very difficult to win either way. Some guys are going to dislike you for trying to dissuade them. Some guys are going to be like, well, you had a fucking hair transplant. Look at you. I want to be you, Mr. Alondes. And you can't express to them that you can't be.
Well, listen, my idea is I'm not trying to please everyone, and I'm not trying to, like, convince anyone to do anything. I'm just going to give you my opinion if someone is asking for it. If nobody is asking for it, I'm not going to be telling anyone. And if they're going to listen to me, fine. If they don't, fine. Like, you do your life, your choice. I don't have time to play. It's just, you would be surprised how many people are texting me on a daily basis, just don't have physically time, even if I will do it as a full-time job.
Sure, trust me.
And so some people, they even get upset, like, oh, you don't have time to reply to my message. So what is the point of you? I was like, are you seriously just said this, like, what's the point of me? Like, I'm spending my free time.
I'm giving you some advice. You're just getting started, my man. You have no idea how angry some of these motherfuckers can get just for telling them the truth. Forget about not being able to answer their emails. It's mind blowing. So just get used to it, man. You gotta have a thick skin.
Like I said, I don't care. Like, listen, if someone said I disagree with you, fine. I don't like you, fine. Go find someone who you like and move on. Like, I couldn't care less.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's a good attitude to take. But I'm just telling you, man, just expect some real haters the bigger you get. And now this is a completely different world. Like when I started, it was I would actually get letters. Okay, that's how old I am. Letters. I would get fan mail and hate mail. Like, actually, I had a guy that cut out letters and pictures from a magazine and glued it like it was like a ransom note. I never forget this. Basically threatening me because I wouldn't, at the time I was picking up phone calls after the show. It was a busy show in New York when I first started. And I was taking the time after a 2-hour broadcast to answer people's questions. Well, after an hour of doing that, I decided to go home. It was already like 1 o'clock in the morning. And this guy was so pissed that he wrote me a ransom letter. So, crazy shit happens, man. That's a true story. That's a true fucking story. All right, Mr. Alondes, listen, man, you're the best. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm really glad you got through.
Thanks so much for taking the call, and I'm glad you guys back and everything is well with you, Spence. So, yeah, hopefully next week we're going to have another show.
Absolutely. Listen, I have no idea. I could have like a cytochrome, crash or whatever that's called, and I could be done. Who knows? But right now I'm feeling pretty good. So take care, man. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, guys. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. He's always a great caller. He's a very thorough guy, and he brings a lot to the broadcast, so I love when he calls in. Let's see who this is.
Yeah.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hey. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? This is Mike from New Mexico.
Mike from New Mexico. How
Hello,
are you,
Mike.
man?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually just have, not going to take up too much time, but
take your time.
I just have some, basically some parting thoughts. I recently lost my battle with hair loss. I decided to finally shave my head, and
okay.
I don't know if that's... I lost the battle, but I just want to just say that I feel like I won the battle. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe you won the war, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost the battle, won the war.
But it's been a long time. It's been like over 10 years that I've been dealing with this, and I've just kind of learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I kind of just wanted to just kind of sum it up and just kind of relay it to
let's hear this.
Whoever.
Listen, and I think this is this is invaluable information because for whatever reason, when people initially find us or whatever, they think everyone's going to be helped. We can help everybody. We can give them the advice where they're going to be able to help themselves. There is a significant percentage of guys who can't really be helped for the long run. Their genetics are just too strong. And this is a reality that people who are going into the idea or considering treatment have to embrace that I can give this a shot, but shit may not work.
Yep, absolutely. And, it's really, like, at the end of it, it's kind of like, it's humbling, like, after I've kind of lost it, like, it's humbling. And it's like, I can look back and I just kind of can see how I've kind of maneuvered things. And,
sure.
I remember, I think it started when I was just about, just like everyone has like a moment where someone told them or they realized that they're losing their hair, like they're just starting. Like everyone can remember that one moment. And, I remember mine as well. It was in 2011. I was like 20 or 21 or something like that. My sister was like, you're losing your hair. I was like, and you're really in denial and things along those lines. And, things kind of slowly progress. You're in denial, but you kind of slowly progresses where it becomes reality. And I remember one of the first things I did, was just kind of Google around and research around on like, oh God, what the hell can I do? And, one of the first videos that I came across was one of Joe's videos, an old video that basically, it said, don't get a hair transplant. That was the title or whatever, or the premise of the video.
That was the first one. That was my very first hair transplant education video. God, 7 years ago now.
Yeah. And, that's true. Like, I mean, you got to really, I was hung up on getting one for a while, but looking back now, like, that wasn't the right answer, like, it really is, like, the last resort, and people should really try their hardest to not go that route, if they can. Like, I totally understand wanting to and getting one and things along those lines, but people should really take seriously that it is the last resort and it's not the only solution, like there's other things that can be done. And
and again, and first of all, I'm glad you found that video, but the way that the market is today, and I was just talking about this article that I was in, and I'm not one to pimp out shit on social media every time I'm in a fucking article or whatever it is. You guys can find it, it's out there, but Jesus Christ, Joe.
What?
It's not
I didn't do it.
It's not you. It's just goddamn COVID. I'm losing my train of thought, like, honestly, 5 times a fucking day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
God damn it. Well, anyway, I'm glad that you found that video. It's incredibly important, and the vast majority of people, because I'm getting back to this article. It really was about, essentially, just the rise in hair transplant surgery, and that I guess the theme for this writer initially was that, hair loss is a choice now. You can just go and have surgery. And that's just the furthest thing from the truth. And that is what's being sold to everyone through social media. And, people who are fortunate to find stuff that Joe's putting out, stuff that, Roland is putting out, stuff that some of these other people are putting out. I mean, it's invaluable. And, every once in a while they find the bold truth.
Yep. Absolutely. I really, really appreciate like all the content and things that you guys put out. That was, looking back, that was like one of the most important things that I've watched, like, and along the journey, just to kind of form just thinking of the lessons learned. Like, that is, people ignore that one because that's not what people want. but that is probably one of the most important things of the journey is like, try not to set that as your end goal, because that may not be, may not be
reality.
The win scenario may not be the reality. Yeah. And, because moving on from that, like one of the other things I learned was, you really, you guys say this pretty much every show, what like is, you got to basically, you got to do something. You got to start early. And, I kind of view that as like, you got to take some action. And that's one thing that I didn't do. I got all wrapped up in the forums and things and read about,
fucking forums,
the bad stories of this and that. And I kind of was in a freeze state. Like I just, it was like analysis paralysis, but I wasn't digging too deep. I was just really focusing on all the negatives. And I just essentially just took no action for too long. And I finally eventually decided to just give finasteride a try. But to be honest, it was just too late when I tried, and it just didn't really have any effect for me. It didn't have any side effects, but like the side effects were definitely on my mind, like just concerned. But my lesson learned from that experience is basically just give it a try. Like there's risk with everything, but just give it a try and definitely start early. Start any treatment early, whether it's minoxidil or finasteride or whatever it is. Just start early, and you'll thank yourself later. It's like a lot less like picking up the pieces later, because that's basically what I felt like.
It's like any disease.
Yeah,
it's all about early intervention. You don't want to start treating type 2 diabetes when you're about to fucking lose a limb.
Absolutely, yeah. And that leads into my next point, which is kind of lesson learned, which is, and I never thought about this until listening to the show, which was, people just like, and absolutely no disrespect to any of the people listening or people going through this, because I did the same exact thing. But, you go through these rabbit holes of research and finding out good doctors and, what they do and things along those lines for your hair. But, you also need to do that for your other doctors that you're visiting or your other surgeons for other things. Like I realized, I have a cyst in my head.
Yeah.
And I've had to have like brain surgery to have it drained too deep to have it removed.
That's heavy.
And I just walked in there like it was nothing. And I'm like, wait a second, I should have did some research on like who my doctor is.
I had the first operation I ever had. I was 21 years old. It was it was what is it? What's the hernia that you have on the side, Joe?
A hernia on the side thing?
Yeah, like by your fucking cock and balls. It's called something. It's not an umbilical hernia. Anyway, so I had a hernia on the side there. It was on the left side. And my GP or my internist is like, okay, here's the name of the surgeon. I'm like, all right, let's do this. The guy, I'm going under anesthesia. He bends over. He's got a pack of cigarettes in his scrubs. Okay. Now, granted, this is 1987. I probably had a cigarette before surgery, but the point is, things eventually healed and were fine, but I was in pain for a long fucking time from what was supposed to be a pretty simple procedure. And I never even thought about doing my research at the time. So yes, I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, it's really. I never thought about it until listening to the show. It's like, you need to do the research on whoever is going to be doing a procedure or who is examining you or whoever your doctor is. Like,
did you read about that? Did you read about that Mohs surgeon, that dermatologist, well-respected person here in California, who essentially was pouring Drano in her husband's lemonade every morning, and she was recently arrested?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This woman's taking skin cancer off of people.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Another thing that I kind of learned, which it's not necessarily a lesson learned, but kind of just like a good point, and it's just something that stuck with me from listening to the show. It was just one thing that you said just in passing, which was like hair loss just has like a really big effect on people, like that. People talk about it, but not a whole lot. And it really, I think you said on the show, like it can completely change the trajectory of your life. And
yes,
that is absolutely so true, because through my whole journey, like I can just recall so many times of like decisions that I made based off of like issues with my hair. And that is, like, looking back, that's just so stupid. And I did miss out on things just because of my hair. And
well, I would say that I don't talk about this a lot. I mean, I have, but I missed out on my 20s. I would say I lived my 20s in a very obnoxious, dangerous way, I would say, and I think some things I'm dealing with because of those times in my life right now as I'm getting older, but it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. And a part of that, I could blame hair loss, but it's really the way that I dealt with it. And it was the way that I felt people were responding to my hair loss. And it was the way that, I probably should have had a better therapist or something. But nothing was working for me except for booze, cigarettes, and doing my best to continue to remain relevant in the minds of women. Because I had to prove to myself that, hey, I still got it, even though I'm fucking going bald. It was a fucked up time.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to go through, and your friends and things that don't have that problem, they don't understand. And I have friends now that they've had COVID, and they're kind of suffering a little bit from the telogen effluvium, sort of after effect or whatever.
I don't want to hear about that.
They reached out to me and said, like, they're like, oh, man, I know how you feel now. Like I see my hair falling out from COVID, and they're like, oh, I know how you feel, and I'm just like, oh yeah, it sucks.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, my 20s was spent trying to hide the ant legs that were sticking out of my hairline and trying to cover up 2 wide donor scars that were stacked one on top of the other. And so I understand the whole 20s kind of being lost angle and issue. And one thing I've learned is that hair loss and things that we've done to deal with our hair loss at any age, it's all relative, because I think I've said this on the show before. Guys that are just now learning that their hairlines are starting to recede are having just as tough of a time with their hair loss as guys that are, roughly the same age or, older or younger or whatever, that are Norwood 5s. And on the market trying to, as Spencer said, remain relevant to the opposite sex. And it's a very interesting, like, I'd like to see someone studying this, like how hair loss actually affects people, because I think that across the board, it only depends on one's temperament, on how people deal with hair loss. But in general, I think every extreme of hair loss, be it very minor to being heavy, I think it affects everyone to the point where that's all they think about at some point. And again, it depends on temperament. It depends on how they deal with life issues to begin with. But I just find it interesting how one person's minor hair loss is another person's major hair loss. And what Spencer was talking about, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about what he went through, and I'm thinking about what I went through in my 20s, and they're 2 completely separate issues, or I guess directions. But we both wound up here.
And now,
because of how
I'm trying not to think about it, I'm hoping that I don't go through any type of telogen because of COVID. And luckily, I really only had a high fever for 1 day, so it's probably unlikely. But that's something else to think about now. Thanks, caller.
Yeah, like that's definitely something for people in their 20s. Like, I that was me too. Like, and I know that it's really hard and it's very much easier said than done. But you do have to really try not to let your hair loss like consume your life, like because you'll basically regret it, like later on, and you got to find some way to deal with it, whether it's some sort like that's the importance of doing treatment early, things along those lines. You got to find the way that works for you, and just you can't let it consume your life though, because it really does. And
how old are you now?
I'm 31.
Okay, you've essentially won the battle by shaving your head at a young enough age where you can kind of salvage your life. How do you feel now that you've shaved your head?
Oh, I feel great. Like it is such a amazing relief. Like I didn't feel the relief immediately, but it was like a few days after, like just not having to do my routine. I feel so good now that like, and I'll be honest. I saw some people, some of my friends, like, and they didn't give me any comments saying like, oh, it looks so good, blah blah blah, like with my head shaved.
Yeah.
But I don't even care, like, because I feel good, like I literally feel good, and it doesn't bother me at all. Like,
I love hearing a story like yours, and God, I wish I had that fucking thing in me, because I'm still a mess. I'm just like, I've been holding on to this. I'm almost 60. I'm like, I'm going to hold on to every possible strand that I can. And I don't know, Joe. I mean, Joe tells me to shave and see if I look like Kane from Kung Fu.
That's the only reason I want you to shave, is just so I can see if you do look like Kane from Kung Fu.
Oh, I would.
I got to see this.
It's like if I shave my beard, I'm an old baby. Also,
well, I'll tell you what, it was tough. It was tough to shave it, but I did it. But the thing that sort of after I kind of quit finasteride and I realized it wasn't giving me any results, like and another thing, like so Topic was my treatment. Like I used so much Topic. I went back on my Amazon history, and I used it for probably 7 years. And I probably spent over $5,000 on Topic over the years. It was ridiculous. And just worrying about that every single day, and worrying about swimming and things along those lines. I'm just so glad that's over. But that's another thing.
You're making me feel bad about myself, man.
No.
I'm just
okay.
I'm just kidding.
I understand.
Dude, you're a recovered bald guy. I mean, you won the battle. I mean, to me, this is like one of the best calls of the night. I love hearing. Listen, I love hearing guys who decide to have surgery and everything worked out, and they're super stoked and they're living their lives. But guys who can just take it all off and move on with their lives, they are the biggest winners of them all.
Yeah, I feel like that. And it's good. And after the one last ditch effort that I did was I went to Dr. Lindsay down in Virginia, or down over in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I was in the area at the time, and I was like, you know what? Let me just make an appointment and go to him. And he was very nice, but he was extremely blunt to me. Like he was like, he looked at my head and was like, yeah, you don't have enough hair. You don't have enough donor hair, and you don't have enough hair on your head or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I feel like I have thick donor area or whatever back there. And he was like, well, you don't look at guys' hair all day. And he was right. Like, I didn't have a good donor area. Like, I didn't notice until he said that. And he kind of said what he could do, but he was like, I don't even want to do this. Like, I don't even want to do anything because your donor area is not good enough.
And that was so important.
He was very blunt about it.
Yeah.
And I'm, looking back, I'm extremely grateful for that, because, I could have went down that path and spent a lot of money and a lot of time concealing things and just a lot of mental energy towards my hair.
And you would have been miserable in the end, and you would have had to shave at the end anyway.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that he turned me away.
Well,
and
listen,
I'm
man,
very grateful for that.
we're going to take some more calls, but I mean, this is a great story, and I'm so happy for you. I'd love to hear from you again. I mean, how long ago did you shave your head?
It was about a month ago at this point.
Wow. Fucking
and
freedom, man.
That will be my last thing. I'm sorry to take up all your time.
It's okay. No,
that'll be
go
the
ahead.
last thing. Like, if people can in their hair loss journey, if they can just, if they can just give shaving their head a shot, like, trust me, I know that it doesn't work on anyone. I didn't think that it would work for me. But if they can give it a shot, just to maybe just see what it looks like, and, they may have to shave it anyway for a transplant, but if they can just shave it and just give it a shot, I'm telling you, that would be an invaluable step in the journey, you know what I mean? Like, because that could just lead you to a whole different path. And maybe not, but maybe it could. And it's absolutely worth the initial, like, shock and initial sort of just, going to work with a shaved head or whatever, because at the end of the day, no one really cares. It's all just about how you feel about yourself.
Well, I think that's invaluable
well said.
advice, and I will tell you this: if I ever do shave my head, I'm going to start TRT and human growth hormone. I'm going to be so jacked, it's not going to matter that I look like Kane from Kung Fu. All right, caller, listen, thank you so much.
Right.
It's
Guys.
great to
Thank
hear
you,
a call
guys.
like yours. Congratulations.
Yep. Thank you,
Mazel
guys. I
tov.
appreciate everything that you guys do, everything you said. Thank you guys so much.
You got it, man. Congratulations.
All right.
Thanks for
Take
calling.
care.
All right. Thank you. Yep. Have a good one.
888-659-3727. Now he's got me thinking about COVID hair loss. Doesn't make sense, though.
And I know you're not kidding about that either.
I only had a fever for one day, like a bad fever for one day.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
I don't know. Let's see who this is. I don't know. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Omar from Israel. How are you guys?
Hey, what's happening, man?
Omar, what's up, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you. Actually, I envy the last caller. I'm good for him. And in my state of mind, I'm exactly like Spencer. Exactly. So good for him. Happy for him.
What are you saying? You're mentally ill?
No, God forbid. But the way he's taking my boldness, I envy him.
No, 100. I do too. I mean, this guy fucking won the battle. He won the war. He lost a couple of battles, like you said, but he won the war.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you something. As mentioned in the past shows, I told you that I visited Dr. Bizanga and Dr. Hasson. And 2 weeks ago, I also visited Dr. Sethi from Eugenics. When I say I visited, I physically visited the doctor in their clinic to get a consultation.
That's great.
Now,
wow, you went all the way from Israel to India for a consultation?
Exactly. Yes.
Bravo. That's dedication. Good man.
Thank you. Yeah. Dedication. You can call it other things, but anyway, my question is the following. I told you that between Dr. Bizanga and Dr. Hasson, there was a different, let's say, Dr. Hasson told me I need for the hairline 4,000 grafts, and Dr. Bizanga told me 3,000 grafts. But the difference was that Dr. Hasson did the temporal point. Now, when I went to Dr. Sethi, he told me, you have a small head, so you need 1,500 grafts for the front, which was kind of shocking for me. I remember that Spencer told me in the last time I called that less is better. The thing is, there is, when you do the mathematics, there is a limit, for the less is better. You want a coverage, and my concern is that I won't have enough coverage. So, it's not that I don't trust the doctor, but It's like either the other ones are, they just want to make money by, quoting more grafts, or Dr. Sethi is a magician. So, like, I'm really confused.
Refresh my memory. What was your assessed Norwood level?
I would estimate 4.5, 4.5.
Sorry. Well, what did the doctors assess? Like, what did Dr. Hassan say you were? What did Dr. Bazenga say you were? And what did Dr. Sethi say you were?
They said between 4 and 5.
Okay. And Dr. Sethi recommended 1,500 grafts?
Exactly, yeah, which I was also shocked at. I told him, I asked him several times, are you sure? Are you sure? I told him, I went to other doctors and they quote almost double than what you tell me, which is crazy. Also,
what's interesting is he's the kind of doctor that would quote at least as much as what the others quoted, but most likely more than what they quoted. So my question, when you're classified as a Norwood 4, is that like a bald Norwood 4, like you don't have any hair, or are you diffused? You have some hair, or you have enough hair to where the pattern is visible, but you got enough hair to style?
Let's say I still have, the front forelock and the middle part, but it's kind of start to thin.
Got it.
I would say that
I think
yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because if you are not bald, you just have you're just starting to look like you're losing your hair, just now starting, but you have a forelock, which means that the left and right temporal peaks are greatly receded. I think, this is no photos. I'm just going on what makes sense, maybe based on what Dr. Sethi may or may not have seen. He might have seen this, where about 700, 750, 800 grafts per side would be enough to tie in the sides with that central forelock and blend into the hair that you have, because he may not feel comfortable going in between the hairs that you have that are still growing on top. And again, sight unseen, maybe the hair is enough to where people around you wouldn't think, wow, he's a Norwood 4. They might think, oh, he's got a recessed hairline.
Let me just add some more details. Maybe it will be more easier. First of all, the hairline that he drew was much wider than the one Bizanga drew. But, how low it was, I estimate it was more or less the same low as Bizanga, okay? But it was wider. So Bizanga told me I need 3,000 grafts for a much narrow hairline, and Dr. Sethi drew much wider hairline, but he quoted half of the graft. Moreover, I just want to add another thing. I have my crown also. We addressed this as well. When I went to Dr. Sethi, I was expecting him to tell me, okay, you need 2 surgeries. One is for the hairline and another one for the crown. And said, no, you can do it both in the same surgery. He quoted for my crown, he quoted 1,000 grafts, and Dr. Hassan and Bizanga quoted around 1,800 to 2,000, which is also almost exactly half of the amount that they quoted. Now, I can tell you that Dr. Bizanga also measured my crown, which was 50 square centimeters. Now, if you go deep into the mathematics and you say, okay, Dr. Bizanga said about 2,000 grafts, if you divide it to 50 square centimeter, it makes sense, 40 grafts per hair centimeter. But when, I don't think my crown got better since, it was about 1 year ago that I met Dr. Brizanga. I don't think it became better, like, I don't feel like that. So if Dr. Sethi quotes, 1,000 grafts for the crown, it means 20 centimeters, but he said no, like, the density would be between 30 to 35 grafts per centimeter. So I don't understand the mathematics. This is what, like, I kind of like what he drew, the hairline. He was a very nice guy. Hospitality was awesome. But, this is something like I cannot go deep into those details, and it kind of bothers me. I know he's a good doctor, but, if you can maybe shed some light on maybe what he was thinking, or
I honestly can't. I honestly can't because first off, I don't have your photos, so feel free to send them to me if you want. And send them to my to my. Pardon me?
Is it possible? Like, I don't mind sending you.
Yes, yeah. I'm asking you to. So go to my Instagram at Joe Tillman Official, and just send them to me through Instagram. Just DM me, and then write down again what Dr. Hassan said, Dr. Brizanga said, and then Dr. Sethi said, and if I can have permission from you, I'll talk to Dr. Sethi. I'll find out like what's going on with this. Why would if I disagree with 1,500 grafts, I'll ask him why do you think that it's necessary for this case.
Okay, this will be amazing.
You piqued my interest with that. That sounds like I want to know. I want to see what these doctors are looking at to come up with such crazy differences in assessments.
Also, Dr. Brizanga told me that my head is very narrow. So, but still, like he mentioned this. So, like, yeah, it's true. Like, I always find it difficult to find the sunglasses that it's suitable for me, for my face size. So I know that. But still, this, so it's a huge difference. So, it makes you feel confused. So, okay.
Well, I want to see it, so I look forward to seeing it.
No problem. So I will.
I have one question. Are you
you
sure Dr. Sethi wasn't drinking?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Actually, there was so many people in the clinic. It was kind of like a party. It was like really nice.
Yeah.
But I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Good.
If I may, before we end the call, I just want maybe to tell the guys who are considering hair transplant. I just mentioned I went to 3 different doctors. It's very different when you get a consultation online and when you physically go to the doctor and see him face to face. Like, you can have online assessment, and when you see the doctors, they tell you something completely different. I drew the hairline that I want, and several clinics told me, yeah, we can do that. But when I went to them, they said, no way, it's too low, it's not possible. So going there is the best thing, and for me personally, like, it took me a while to, understand that this is the best for me, and to accept this, because if I would sitting the same day for a surgery, I would maybe go and just walk away, So just understanding what they can do is
that's a valuable. It's a valuable
really
point.
Helped me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it helped you to get a grasp on the reality that you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with omnipotent beings that know everything. You're dealing with people, and I highly suspect. I was about to say I guarantee, but I can't guarantee it. But I would highly suspect that the response that you got via email saying, "Oh yeah, we can do that, no problem," was not the doctor. That was a consultant. trying to fill the schedule. And then and I've seen this many times. And the doctor sees you, and they're kind of scratching their head. What the hell is Bob thinking, or whatever the consultant's name was, because they're looking at the notes of the consultation, and you walk in, and they're looking at the consultation. They look at you, they look back at the consultation again in the notes. They're like, what the hell were they thinking? And now I look like an asshole.
That's an important point, and even the term that you just used, no one even understands it. We don't talk about it much. Fill the schedule. That is exactly what the vast majority of these clinics are trying to do via WhatsApp or through Instagram or through all of their possible social media resources and their marketing, their website. It all comes down to how far out am I booked, period. And that's why they have consultants and salespeople and all that happy horse shit. That's why they have parties and conferences and meetups and whatever they want to call it. They're trying to sell you surgery.
I totally understand, and this is the thing is that those are also, some of them are IHRS clinics, which I experienced this experience.
Absolutely.
I just say everybody, every patient needs to go with a critical eye and not be, the desperate guy thinking, He needs to be the critical guy. Not take everything as, granted. What they tell him is what it is. Like, be critical.
Look, there's not an IHRS accepted member or clinic that doesn't want to have a completely full schedule. That's the way it works. And also, there's not well, there may be a couple, but the vast majority of busy clinics have salespeople, consultants, advisors, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Trying to get people in the chair. Now, the ethical doctors will take a second look, like Joe said, and say, wait a second, what was Bob saying? What was Bob thinking? But initial consults, it's all about getting you in the chair, or at least getting you super interested to come in and have a consult if you're not going to just do an online consultation. So listen, man, I hope Joe will eventually be able to help you with this and answer your questions with a little bit more of a information that he's able to procure, because right now it sounds a little strange.
Okay, I will wait for his reply once I email him.
Okay, man.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time and information.
You got it, man. Thanks for the call and good luck.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Now, we started late.
Bye-bye. One more.
Let's take a call. Okay. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Fucking Morty.
There he is.
How are you, man?
Fucking Morty.
Doing good, man. Better question. How are you, Spencer? You good, man?
I'm all right. I'm alive.
All right, good, man. You had us worried, man. We were worried about you. They went ahead and they waited until you got sick before they changed the guidelines,
What are the guidelines now?
Oh, the guidelines are there are no more guidelines.
So they're done.
No more 6 feet apart. No more masks. Nothing.
Everything's
No more difference between vax and unvax.
Well, I'm talking to the doctor, and I'm an interesting person. I'll put this out there.
Yes, you are.
I don't spend money on the typical bullshit that people spend money on. Like, I don't need to drive a Lamborghini or live in a 12,000 square foot home or any of that happy horse shit that people who've done anything in their lives want to do. I will spend money, though, on convenience and good medical care. So I had physicians, come over to my fucking house for house calls to hook me up with monoclonal antibodies and like IV drips and Myers cocktails and one chick gave me a handy. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. I was too sick. But I'm like, so how long do I have to stay quarantined? And they're like, well, CDC saying 5 days and then you can go and mingle, with a mask on. I'm like, so you're telling me that even if I test positive with an antigen test, which is not as sensitive as a PCR, I can go out. And they're like, yeah, I mean, according to, the people in the know, that's, yeah, for sure. Now, I won't do that, obviously. But, I mean, this is the reality that we're dealing with. It's like, what the fuck do these doctors know? They're just going by the medical authorities. What's written, everything that I'm getting, and this is the service that I use is a very high-end service. Good doctors. It's like having your own ER doctor in your house. All that shit. You get these. I was going to say mimeograph. That's how old I am. You get these copies of information provided by the CDC as far as instructions and post-care instructions and all that stuff. It's sickening, man.
It is. What happened to the days when doctors would actually do this thing called diagnosis, and they would do this thing called prescription? The idea that a doctor would actually use their medical training and their experience in order to make a judgment on what is best for the patient.
Yeah.
That is something which is just gone out the window. Now it's medicine by litigation. What is it that I can prescribe or diagnose
safely,
which an insurance company will accept and which a lawyer won't sue me for? And that's really sad because
it is.
Freaking doctors out there with years of experience, and they've gone, to medical school, and they've learned all this stuff. Plus, they have years of experience with other patients, and it's all like, oh no, the book says you have to do this, and the book says you have to do that.
Well, I'll tell you about the book. I had access to monoclonal antibodies, and I tested negative at home on a Sunday night, and I took the test 3 times. It was negative, but I knew that I was sick, so I called the service up, and I'm just like, look, send somebody over. I want to get the monoclonal. I want to start early. And like, well, we can't because it's being provided by the state, which there was no provision by the state. I paid full fucking fare for those things. It's like $1,800, by the way, $1,850, and to be exact, because we're both from the tribe.
65 cents, damn it.
Yeah, and 32 cents, and they're like, well, no, we have to wait till you have a PCR positive or a antigen positive test. I said, yeah, but I mean, to have to wait overnight. Why would I want to do that? And they're like, well, that's just the way that it is. They don't give a fuck, man. So I had to go in the next day, feeling like shit, get the PCR test, and it was positive. It was like, oh, okay, now you can come over?
Motherfuckers, man. God damn it. And with this disease, it gets up in your nose. It's not going to show up. It's not going to show up in a lateral flow test immediately, possibly. I don't know, man. The whole thing has just been. In some respects, I'm glad the CDC is dropping all of these guidelines, but at the end of the day, I can't help but wonder how much of this is fucking political. It's just. I don't want to get into it.
Well, anyway, I don't want to get into the politics of it. I'm just getting into the medicine of it, and the sad fact that we know there are treatments that, like, especially approved treatments like monoclonal antibodies are approved for emergency use, and we know how important it is to intervene early. We also know it's not going to hurt you if you use it, and if you're willing to pay cash for it, what's the difference?
Yeah, well, it's because of regulation and the availability. That's the difference.
Yeah,
I mean that whole thing with the monoclonal antibodies was, again, it was tied politically. There were certain states that were giving out a lot of monoclonal antibodies, and they were discouraging or not actively encouraging vaccination. And the people in the know basically said, no, if we continue to give out these monoclonal antibodies, these people aren't going to get vaccinated. And it's just like, well. Yeah, and why is that an issue if the people don't want to get vaccinated? As long as you make the information available to them and they understand the risks they're taking, then it should be up to them what they put into their bodies or not. But, whatever.
Well, again, anyway, I can't get into that aspect of things because, I do a little hair loss show here, but I'm just talking about my experience and just the sheer medical and the physician patient treatment aspect of things, and that
One thing I can see,
Basically, I could have gone there with a fucking bucket load of cash, and they would have been like, "No, can't make that happen." We're in America.
Again, it's medicine by litigation. It's like, what can I?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Morty, how's your hair?
Good. We got around to that. It's good, man. The hair
Joe,
is going
Joe
in
can't
growing
take it.
well.
Joe can't take it when you talk about other things, Marty.
Yeah. The
But
hair's
no, I'm
growing
just,
in well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to say one thing there with respect to the hair. So you said you were going to do a video where you talk about the ideal length. I want to see this because I have had haircuts, and I want to try to understand this whole thing about ideal length, because the hair on the top of my head, I've let it grow pretty considerably, enough to reach back to cover some of the untouched area. I guess you could say it's either the top of the crown or the back of the mid scalp, depending on which way you look at it, which is a part of the scalp which wasn't done. And in order to get enough length, because I have like wavy hair, it has to get pretty long. And what I'm finding is that at that length, the hairline in the front, it's looking thinner. Okay? And I think it's because, it's just all laying straight back instead of like layering the way it would if it were a little bit shorter. So I really want to see that video on the ideal length. Putting that out there.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I'd love to make that video, but it's a challenge because who am I going to use as the model to demonstrate this? I have to use myself, and that's a long process. And frankly, at this point, I don't know if I will make that video because I'm not really willing to go through the process of growing my hair out all over and going through this. It's challenging. But here's the thing: you don't need the video because you're discovering this on your own, and that's what the message of the video would be overall. Is you have to find the length that works best for you, and even if. So here's my experience, okay? So every time my head would be shaved after a hair transplant, and then I let it grow in, and it gets to its full result at 12 months or 16 months, or depending on which doctor you believe, the full result, and I'm able to enjoy it. I would still have different hairstyles. Like throughout my career, I've had so many different hairstyles, and I've had fun with it because I could. Right? It's like when you're bald or bald and a repair patient, and then you get all his hair back over the course of a few years, you want to have fun with it. I had it short. I had it long. I dyed it. I had highlights. I went full on Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran at one point, and it was a blast. And I had fun with it. But the thing I learned is that at different lengths, my hair would look fuller than at other lengths. And sometimes that would be longer. And so as my hair would grow out to where it was enough to style, it would look okay, but then it would get longer and it would look much fuller. And then it would get longer still, and it would look thinner, and then longer yet still, it would look fuller. And it would go through stages, and then it got to the point where it's so long, it's just kind of ridiculous, and I got to cut it down. And where my hair is now is probably the ideal length for me as far as the top and the crown goes, for the fullness appearance and the ability to look the least amount of thinning possible. But it's taken me a while to understand where it works best. And it'll take you a while to understand. It'll take everyone a while to understand. And that's why I can't stand seeing photos of guys online where their hair looks like they just got out of bed, and then they're going online and they're just bitching about their doctor and how they got fucked up because their hair isn't full and thick. It's like, style your fucking hair. Get a haircut.
Yeah.
Learn, go to a stylist and have them show you how to brush your fucking hair like an adult, like a big boy. It pisses me off when I see this. And in your case, man, you are in a world of discovery right now because your full result hasn't even come in yet, and it's fun. it's fun and frustrating at the same time. But man, when you find that sweet spot for you, for your own specific case, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Cool. Well, it's good to hear. I think you're right about not growing it out completely, because I'm still, every so often, I'm still getting some eruptions. I had like one about a week ago, and another one that just happened. It just happened about a week ago. So there's still stuff coming up. That's for sure. I'm a little surprised, but yeah, I guess there's still some late bloomers in there.
Mr. Rolandis wants to know about my hair length. That's very long, and it's the way that he used to wear it when he had a comb over. I do have a comb over, Mr. Rolandis. For crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but yours is different, though, because you're coming front to back. Rolandis was back to front, man. I mean, I saw his.
David Hutton in the chat room. You are a man after my own heart. He goes, Spencer's hair has its own Star Trek-like structural integrity field. Only a Trekker would understand that. It's holding it together. It's an energy field holding it together.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
20% more hairspray.
I love it.
No,
Spence looks great in terms of hair in particular. So apparently the rest of me is falling apart.
Awesome.
I mean, I can't win.
Well, there is no winning. We all end up in the same place, Spencer. Come on, you know that.
Tell me about it, man. It's either in an urn or 6 feet under. That's it. And I have guilt about the urn because we're not supposed to desecrate our bodies. But I don't. The whole, being buried in a coffin and all that stuff. That's like such a pain in the ass.
Don't worry, man. You won't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
You won't know what's happening.
That's funny.
That's true.
One other thing I wanted to mention, it's thanks to you guys and to all of the social medias, I've been getting some calls, and I had a conversation with a fellow who, every time somebody asks me hair loss questions, I always say, pick up the phone, call 1-888, what is it? I don't have the number right now in front of me, but call this
659
number from 659-3727. Thank you. 888-659-3727 on Fridays from 6 to 8 p.m. and ask your questions there, okay? Because they will give you a much better answer than I can. And I'm talking to this one fellow who is very smart. He had a consult with Dr. Cole, and then he happened to live in another state. I believe it's North Carolina. And I told him, he should get consults with some other doctors if he sees he's very confused and he's not sure who to talk to. And I said, you should reach out to Dr. Cooley because he's right there. And then the guy reaches out to me and he's freaking out and he's like, I don't understand. Dr. Cole told me that I could do FUE and I'd need 3,000 grafts and to deal with my hair. And then I went to go see Dr. Cooley, and Dr. Cooley said to him that what you need was strip, and that anyone who says that you could do a bigger FUE case than 1,500 and not have, a moth-eaten donor is lying to you. And I was just like, what? Now this is sight unseen. I hadn't really seen this guy's head, but I had to explain to him the whole issue of the practice of medicine. Is that each doctor is going to have their own opinion about the way that a particular case needs to go down.
Absolutely.
And I told him, you have questions. I told him, the pro is a strip. With strip, you're going to be able to get a larger chunk of a large volume of hair, and he said, but the strip, and it's going to have the scar. And I said, look, I said to him, look at Rolandis' scars, okay? He had a really good FUE, two sets of FUEs, beautiful results, but if he shaves it down, he's got a lot of white scars, It's entirely possible that you can have an FUT and have a pencil-thin scar that nobody's going to notice unless you shave it shave it all the way down. And it could probably look just fine. But you could also have stretch back, and you can also get hypertrophic scars from FUE. So, there's a risk no matter what you do. And, then the best part was I asked him about medication, and he said he wasn't on any. And I said, I said, this is why Cooley basically turned you away. It isn't because of, this or that. It's because you're not on meds. I said, I want to keep my body clean. I don't want to put any chemicals in my body. And I said to him, I said, look, you want to know what's natural? What's natural is you losing your hair.
Well,
That's what
when are you
going
to start charging for consultations, Morty?
Exactly.
I don't know, when somebody pays me to talk instead of keep my mouth shut, I suppose. But
there's a lot of guys doing that, man. Just put up your fucking online shingle. Listen, Morty's place.
Well, look, I learned, like I said, I learned from the best. You know what I mean? And when I
thank you.
And when I hear, I learned from the best. I follow the playbook, man. The playbook is first you get on the meds. All right. If you're not on the meds, you got to get on the meds, and you got to get on the meds for at least 6 months to a year, and then we can talk. All right. Well, if you don't want to get on the meds, then don't fucking get yourself cut because you're wasting your money.
Once you're cut, man. That's it. Mm-hmm. End of story.
Take it from the man who's been cut. Yes.
It is the real deal. Mordechai, thank you so much for the call.
Always, man. A pleasure hearing you both. And I'm so glad to hear that you've recovered, Spencer, and may you live and be well to 120.
I appreciate that. That was very Jewish. I appreciate that. All right, brother. Okay.
Later.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. Is that it, Joe?
That is it. And I can't help but think it's, if he were to have his own show, it would be Morty's Hair Talk with Morty. Hi, I'm Morty, and I'm here to talk about hair loss.
Can't. Morty's Coffee Talk.
On New York public television. Yeah.
Dude,
Hair Talk
he
with
should
Morty.
set up like a Between Two Ferns type of public
I know, right?
access show.
That's what I meant, public access, yeah.
And when fucking Cole is in town, they can do a show on Channel 35 in New York.
That would be I'd pay money to see that.
Time Warner Cable.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Bring Nick in
Morty's
there.
Hair Loss Talk.
You know?
With Morty.
Morty's got
good stuff,
Morty's
man.
some like long cigarettes, king size.
Good times.
All right.
Good show.
Guys are holding
Welcome
out.
back,
Sorry,
man.
Joe,
Glad you're here.
Joe can't take any more calls.
Yeah, it's my fault.
So
exactly.
We're going to go. Instead of giving out the websites, we are
Well, I'm
going to
not.
have the
They're
websites
listed down below in the description.
Down below in the description.
Yep.
And Joe, anybody
There
you
we
want to
are.
thank? I mean, besides me, of course.
Well, thanks for you is just an understood.
Yes.
No one in particular that isn't listed down below already. I would like to thank Dr. Rolandis, Jesus Christ, Mr. Rolandis for calling in. It's always great to hear from him. Morty, and all the callers. Adam in someplace, and then whoever it was in New Mexico. Yeah, good callers, and appreciate them dialing in. And of course, next week we'll be back, and it's more opportunity for you guys to call us as well. We'll be here for you.
Guys, until next time, be strong. God bless. And thank you so much for
Hit that
listening.
like button, subscribe, and like the show.
Do that.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.